All right, we are recording. Hopefully this is working. Welcome to our first parent workshop. It's our first parent series for professional therapy associates. We have a whole slew of presenters here, and we are going to talk today about how to support your child during the holidays. Bear with us as we are presenting and trying to manage the recording all live. So we're so happy you're here. Keep in mind, just like this slide says, these are general suggestions. We are professional therapists, but we are not consulting on any children that we have not met yet, that we don't currently service. Any information about your child, we'd be happy to talk to you after. And that's that. Our first presenter is going to be Becca Heider, and she is one of our speech therapists. So bear with us as we pass the camera to her.
All right. So I have 4 things to go over that are speech related regarding the holidays and your kids and speech. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is kind of preparing for the holidays. Then we'll move into kind of communication during the holidays, a little bit of feeding tips for the holidays, as well as some language-filled holiday activities. So the first thing that we have to talk about is preparing for the holidays. So preparation for any kid before a major event or a crowd of people is super important. So in terms of your child, you want to talk about it. You want to inform them anything that's going to happen. You want to prepare them by going through all of the different situations, anything that they're going to encounter that may not be their normal routine. You want to reassure your child that it's okay if they feel a little overwhelmed, or it's okay if they're a little bit quieter, or they don't really want to share or talk with somebody who they don't really know. And then you could even kind of role play and kind of act out what might happen, who they're going to see, what they might talk about with these people, and kind of just prepare them for those situations. You want to also prepare yourself. So you have to set those expectations for yourself and for your child. So your expectations have to be set, and keep in mind that your kid may not be the picture perfect kid that you are imagining in your head, but you have to kind of keep those expectations realistic and make sure that they are right for your kid. You also want to just slow down a little. The holidays are very fast moving, and you have to take into consideration that your kid may not be able to keep up with everything that you're doing. Holidays are usually jam-packed with activity to activity, but just slow down, kind of take into consideration everything that they need as well as yourself. And also communicate with your child, communicate with your family, kind of just make sure that everybody's on the same page. Which then brings us to the last area, which is preparing your family. You want to kind of inform them of anything that they might see when they see your kid. If anything has changed since the last time that they saw them, if they have any new little quirks or behaviors that they need to know about, you want to educate them. Your kid may not look like every other kid, and that's okay, but you want to kind of let them know, educate them that what your kid is doing is okay. And have them plan for it. Know that maybe you need a small activity on the side where they can kind of just go by themselves, but you want to plan yourself, your family, and your kid for any of those situations that may arise. The next thing that we're going to talk about is some communication tips for around the holidays. There are 3 major things that I kind of picked to talk about. There's endless amounts of things that you could talk about with communication around the holidays, but kind of the 3 main things are simple questions, pause, and then nonverbal communication. Simple questions, kind of keeping questions simple for children around the holidays may help them to feel more comfortable with answering, maybe to you if they're a little overwhelmed. They're comfortable with you, but they might not be exactly where they typically are, or even more comfortable with people that they don't really know. Keeping those simple in situations where there's a lot of people, there's large groups of people, they don't know the people or they don't know the situation. It's helpful to use yes/no questions to kind of just allow them to use their voice if they want to, or just a simple head shake or head nod to kind of not put too much pressure on using that language if they're not comfortable. The next thing is to pause. The holidays are filled with those overstimulating and unknown situations. For children who have difficulty with communication, allowing them time to process what is being asked of them. This may look like giving them an extra minute or a few seconds before they answer, before repeating yourself. Not always need, maybe even finding a quiet place to go and ask the question again. Maybe they can't focus on what you're saying in a loud room of people. And the last thing that we see with a lot of our clients at all of our clinics is a lot of nonverbal communication, not just with kids who are nonverbal, but also kids who are verbal, but in situations like this may become nonverbal. Just providing opportunities for your children who are nonverbal, kind of listening to their nonverbal communications, such as pulling you in a direction, bringing you a gift to help them open, showing you something like a new toy that they received, and kind of just understanding that this is their way of talking to you and communicating with you. You can always reinforce what they are telling you with their actions. If your child has an AAC device or any sort of picture communication, utilizing that to help them, and kind of just understanding their facial expressions too, to help them kind of communicate what they're saying. Mealtime for the holidays. So feeding around the holidays, a little bit different. You kind of have these two areas. You have the before the meal, and then you have the mealtime itself. Before the meal happens, you want to prepare your child. It goes back to what I was saying before, is always, always, always prepare. So prepare your child for what this meal might look like. It is sometimes a big event to have a meal around the holidays. And it's not just the three of you sitting around the table quietly eating your dinner. It may be a group of 20 people. And so it might be a little bit taunting for them. So prepare your child, discuss those events and the expectations that you have for your kid. If you have a child who can understand those expectations, telling them that you need them to sit quietly if they need something to tell you, instead of just calling out, whatever it may be for your specific event. Keeping a calendar might be a good thing for letting them know where you're going to be and what they're going to have for dinner that night. Get them involved, help shop for the meals if you're the one cooking it, have them pick out the ingredients, and then even let them help in the cooking process or show them the cooking process so they know what to expect when the meal comes, which then brings us to the mealtime. One of the great things about meals is it's kind of a family style for most people when they sit down. So if you can kind of keep it the same sort of style around the holidays, that really helps reassure them and kind of keep it the same routine. You also want to maybe keep portions small if it's foods that they don't always eat and might not like. Keep it small so they don't feel like they're expected to eat everything that's on their plate. Sectioned plates are a fantastic invention and can help with kind of separating foods that you want them to try, but maybe foods that they like. Not having those foods touch. Some kids can't have that. And so that plate kind of helps them to separate those things. Maybe bring or prepare some comfort foods for your kid. If you're going to someone else's house, you might not know what they're cooking, and your kid may not eat it. So packing something that you can pop in the microwave and just heat up for them so that they at least have a meal that they can enjoy while everybody else is sitting at the table as well. Eat as close to the routine meals as possible. Just kind of keeping within that routine and keeping them as consistent as possible. And the final thing that we're going to talk about are a few activities that you can use around the holidays that are kind of language filled. Pretty much any activity that you do, you can incorporate language into and make it language filled, but these are some fun winter and holiday ones. The first we have is make a snowman. It's especially popular with young children, but there are plenty of opportunities for learning vocabulary words, such as different body parts and vocabulary for building the snowman. You can always practice giving and following directions or focus on articulation if that's what your child is working on. Another one is snow forts. It's a great activity to work on social skills. Your child can work together with their sibling or a peer and kind of complete this project and communicate what needs to be done in order to build what they're building. The next two are a snowball fight, which is fun for kids of all ages. This activity is useful for working on concepts such as big and small, cold, round, colors. It's also helpful in practicing articulation for different sounds, as well as kind of expanding that vocabulary to understand that what rolling is, scooping the snow, hiding, throwing, anything like that. The last one is sledding, another activity for all ages. It gives plenty of time to incorporate language and articulation, words such as fast or going down the hill. Sledding offers opportunities for lots of sound practice, while vocabulary such as climb or steep or incline can be incorporated to kind of discuss the different steps that your child may need to do to participate in the sledding. So those are the speech topics for today, and we are going to move on to the ABA portion of our presentation. So please welcome Jill, our lovely BCBA.
Hi, I'm Jill, and I'm one of the BCBAs here at Robbinsville. So when I was thinking of topics for this presentation, the first one that came to mind was to beware of bootleg reinforcement. So this is accidental reinforcement. And an example of this is if a child wants to open gifts and has a meltdown, if the parent is very firm and says, we're not opening gifts now, but the child grabs a cookie and starts eating it and they love a cookie, that might have actually reinforced the meltdown. So when there's a ton of different reinforcers present, gifts, cookies, hugs from grandparents, games with cousins, just be aware that there may be opportunities for accidental reinforcement of problem behavior. So if that happens, my best suggestion would be to prompt the child to do something that would break the association between the problem behavior and the reinforcer. So in the example of the child wanting to open gifts and has a meltdown, if they're going for a cookie, ask them to give something to a family member, ask them to clap, touch their head, touch their nose, answer a question, anything that would be mastered for them, and that would break the association between the meltdown and the cookie. So that was what came to mind first because there are so many reinforcing things around during the holidays. Our next suggestion is creating a social story. So this kind of goes off of what Becca said about preparing your child for the holidays. I use these a lot for kids. They are basically just a narrative of what the expectations are, and if possible, using specific information like dates, locations, who they'll see, behavior expectations, and then real pictures if possible. So we're going to grandma's. Here we're going to see our aunt, our uncle, our cousins. Your cousins may ask to play with you. They might want to play this game at this time, around this time, we're having dinner, stuff like that, and then real pictures if possible. So reading that to the child or having the child read it themselves might help prepare them for just the festivities of the holiday. And then my last piece of advice would be to pair new or stressful situations with preferred items. So this can make the child feel more comfortable, even if you normally wouldn't allow the child to have a toy at the dinner table or music while listening to or while watching kids open presents. Like that might help your child feel more comfortable in a stressful situation. So while it may not be ideal, it is an extenuating circumstance that, you know, may help your child deal with the stimuli of the holidays. So, and with that, I'm going to hand this over to Gabby and Jenna, our OTs. Good job.
Hi, I'm Jenna. And I'm Gabby. We are the OTs at the Robbinsville Clinic, and we are going to talk about how to kind of deal with some stressful situations that might arise over the holidays, which would be opening gifts and kind of how to promote taking turns and playing games with kids and their families or peers over the holiday season. So as Becca and Jill already mentioned, the holidays can be a really overstimulating time for neurotypical individuals, but especially some of our clients that we do have on the autism spectrum. Gift opening is a really stressful time that could be, you know, really overstimulating. There could be a lot going on. It's not very structured, so it kind of leaves the air open for, you know, potential meltdowns or a lot of like sensory overstimulation, sorry. So we compiled some strategies that you could use to try to make it an easy holiday morning that makes it fun for everybody with not too many meltdowns. So the first thing we think would be really helpful is to maybe have a scavenger hunt. So it's really hard for a lot of our kids to kind of sit for a long period of time and opening gifts. You know, if you have a big family or if you have a lot of gifts to get through, it could be a lot and kind of cause a meltdown if they're just sitting there waiting their turn. So try to make it fun and interactive, kind of provide them with that input they need to move around the house. Go find a present that's upstairs, find a present that's under the table, kind of put them in different spots just to kind of get your kids up and moving so they can kind of regulate themselves while sitting there and trying to maintain attention to whoever is opening the gifts if it's not their turn. We also think that practicing opening gifts would be a really good idea to do before the actual day comes. A lot of our kids that are on the autism spectrum or that have like sensory needs really do like to be prepared and kind of know what is expected. So practicing and not really, you know, introducing them to a new skill is something that would be really important to kind of help them participate and keep it run as smoothly as possible. So maybe wrap familiar toys that they like to play with every day, or just little things that they like to use. Wrap their shampoo. You could wrap their hairbrush or any specific item that they really like, just to have them practice how to open it and what they need to do, that they need to kind of throw it away, and then what's expected of them at that time on Christmas morning or during Hanukkah, whatever you guys celebrate, where they would be opening gifts. It would also be really a good idea to use a lot of visual cues. So like Jill and Becca already mentioned, using visual schedules or kind of making like a social story specifically for opening gifts and kind of showing them like, okay, I am opening my gifts at grandma's house. I am going to do this before I open my gifts. I'm going to throw away my wrapping paper, just so they kind of know what they should do. And then, you know, maybe prepare them with like a schedule of like, okay, first we wake up, then we have breakfast, then we open gifts, then we do this, so they can kind of follow along and know what they're expected to do, how long they're going to be doing something, and where they're going to be. Another thing that would be really helpful to do with your kids would be to kind of give them a role. Don't just have them like sit there and waiting for you to kind of tell them what to do and just not doing anything. Maybe make them be the one that hands out the presents. So instead of them just sitting there, have them kind of, you know, pass the presents out to mom, dad, sister, brother, or have them be the garbage cleaner upper. Give them a role so they kind of know what's expected of them and what they need to do, instead of just waiting on you and, you know, losing their patience and not knowing how to calm themselves down. The most important one, though, I think would be to kind of help decrease the stimuli, because like we already said, it's a really stressful morning. There's a lot of unexpectedness that's going on. There's going to be a lot of noise. And obviously you can't really tell your family to stop talking and keep it down, because everyone's excited. They're going to be high on emotions. They're going to be happy to see each other. So if you are opening gifts somewhere that is not your house, or if there is going to be people that are not usually at your house, maybe try to prepare your kids of like, who's going to be there, who they're going to see. Maybe if it's close enough and you're going to another house, kind of take a little road trip just to show them where they're going to be, what to expect on that morning. If I know a lot of people, when they are opening gifts, usually have like a Christmas movie playing, or you have some music on. Try to kind of make sure it's music like without words, so it's not too much auditory input going into the kids if there's already other people talking and they're excited about the presents. If there's any presents that they have been waiting all year for, that they're super excited for, that you know are going to be like the star of the show, try to kind of wait for that to be gifted to them at the end, so that they're able to kind of sit and wait and not just super fixated on that one item, so that they're still able to kind of sit there and hang out with you. And just try to limit anything that is super distracting. Don't try to make them wear new clothes that you think are going to cause them to be uncomfortable. Kind of keep with their consistent routine of what they usually use, what they usually wear, and just kind of make sure they're kind of prepared for what's going to come with opening their gifts that morning. So like I was saying about the stimuli, I just kind of wanted to add some more things that could be kind of triggering to cause a meltdown or cause your child to feel overstimulated. So loud music that encourages singing along, that could be too much for them if they're already trying to focus on one thing and then they're listening to the other song. So just try to kind of give them one to the other, keep it to kind of like classical music, or, you know, any type of popular Christmas song that just doesn't really have the words when, you know, times are going to be loud and there's going to be a lot going on. Make sure that if there's more people around that they are kind of not used to seeing, they know who's there, they know what to expect, and they kind of know who they need to acknowledge and what they're expected to do with those people. And I will pass it over to Miss Gabby.
So Jenna covered a lot of these things about how you can reduce distractions, but just a couple more. You can definitely provide opportunities for breaks in quiet places if your child, can't attend and sit for a long period of time. See if you can come up with another activity. And we have some other activities that we're going to mention on the next slide. Things that you can give them a break, give them an opportunity to ask for a break, even if they're nonverbal. We have break cards that we use here at the clinic. So you can provide your child with a break card, allow them to have a break, ask for something. That's really good for them to be able to advocate for themselves. So we want to make sure that they do it here. They continue to do it at home, even in stressful situations, because that's only going to help them with their communication in the future. So allow them to have breaks. Even when, there's a lot of people sitting all around, like allow them to have a break for a few minutes. You can set a timer, and then they know that when they come back, okay, then now that we're going to continue what we were doing before. And then if they need a break later on, they kind of know how to ask for a break and how to take one. And then you guys kind of have a better sense of communication. Jen had mentioned saving preferred toys or items towards the end. This also helps them to keep interested, because they know if they know there's something coming, it lets them, okay, like you can sit here, you're going to have to sit and play with this thing for a little bit, and that something good is coming. So they're kind of like working towards like that reinforcement, that toy that they've been looking forward towards. So it could help increase their motivation, help their attention, be able to sit and attend while they know that something preferred is coming next. So we also came up with a few things to help with taking turns and playing games. We want to make sure, as we know, there's a lot of, there could be new family that the child doesn't know. There could be familiar family, but still children are different ages. So we want to make sure it's inclusive for everybody. So we want to make sure we pick games with a few rules and restrictions that are easy to follow. So examples we came up with: Uno, Simon Says, Jenga, things that are appropriate for different age ranges and different skill levels that everyone can play. And you don't have to worry about your child not being included or not having like the skill level to play, because there are things that pretty much everyone can play together. And you're always available to like help them, or have a sibling or a cousin help them as well. But these are things with like little with small amounts of rules. So this is easy for everyone to kind of know, and games that are familiar to everyone. We want to utilize games that encourage cooperative play and turn taking to reach a common goal. So games such as Uno, card games, Jenga, even any board games you have lying around that a lot of kids play. Things that encourage turn taking to help them not only with attending and engaging, but also just learning how to take turns, learning how to play with people who are familiar, non-familiar, and people who have different abilities in them. Sometimes if you're in the clinic, your child might be playing a game with another child that may be on a similar level to them. Well, maybe during the holidays, you could be playing with a child who's on a different level, but this can encourage them and teach them how to play with other kids, no matter their skill level. We want to allow your child to engage in preferred play instead of forcing a new game on an already stimulating day, because like we said, it can be a lot. Jenna had mentioned like wearing clothing that is preferred, things like that. We want to make sure that even if you are introducing a new game, you maybe have something also that's preferred, so a child, knows what they're playing, can understand like, okay, this is my time to play a game. I'm going to work on taking turns, but this is something that I'm already familiar with. So I don't have to learn a new set of rules. I don't have to be stressed out about not being able to play and keep up with everybody. This is a game, a game that you know how to play, and you can teach other people if they don't know how to play, but something that is preferred will definitely help them with the transition and help them to, decrease negative behaviors throughout the day. And lastly, we wanted to make sure you allow for movement breaks and opportunities to move around when playing structured games. A lot of our children who are on the spectrum, or even our neurotypical children, they don't like to sit for a long period of time. And, it's good for the body to be moving, especially those who are more sensory seeking. It's important to stay regulated to be able to provide that sensory input. You might not have, a lot of opportunity wherever you are at to go run outside and play, especially if it's cold out. But there are ways that you can get sensory input in your house by doing, animal walks, wall push-ups. We have, there's different proprioceptive and vestibular input like swings, and even just pushing heavy furniture, picking up bags of food, or even carrying heavy things throughout your house, carrying a laundry basket, things that they can use that are in anyone's house that can kind of give them that little sensory break so that they can return back to what they were doing and, increase their attention, their engagement, and keep the behaviors to a minimum. All right. So I think that's all we have for OTs. Now we're going to hand it over to our lovely counselor, Michelle.
Woo! Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm the counselor. So I'm doing my topic on the importance of emotional regulation during the holidays. And my first slide is what are 3 emotional states parents should be aware of? So the first one is regulation. This is the calm, the present, the receptive, the aware. This is pretty much like the homeostasis. This is kind of what you want. It's like here, it's level. The dysregulation is the unbalanced crying, yelling, that meltdown we all know during the holidays when they don't get the gift they like, or, you know, grandma kissed them too hard, or whatever it is. The emotionally overwhelmed child is the dysregulated child. And then there's the co-regulation, when the parent and the child are able to work together and maybe do like some breathing activity and finger breathing, or just calm down, take a deep breath, blow out the candles, and help your child calm down. Those are things that I have found to be successful working with a lot of children over the years. So some challenging emotions that need to be regulated. And the holidays are a time that can be difficult for a lot of families due to loss, grief, fear, despair, powerlessness, some that might come up, or hatred. You know, if you have a family that may be a single family and the other parent's no longer around, or maybe in jail, or maybe just not in their life, they may have those feelings of angst or hatred. There may be guilt, remorse, unworthiness, shame, may feel some sense of rage. You know, they look at their friends who have the best sneakers and then they get, you know, the Walmart sneakers, and they feel shame and rage because they're not feeling like they measure up. So these are all like real issues that do come up during the holidays, that they have 3 presents, but their friend got 15. Hopelessness, loss, disgust, misery, sadness. I know these are all sad, but this is the reality of, you know, being a therapist. And these are the feelings I deal with all the time with kids. So loneliness, depression, anxiety, and confusion. You know, we're coming out of this COVID, even though there's an uptick, and I normally wouldn't talk about this, but many children lost parents the last few years, or their family members. And, you know, in real time, we're still dealing with a lot of emotions that we have to regulate. And the holidays, you know, grandma may not have made it through. And one thing that is really helpful during the holidays, whether you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas, is to set a place setting for the person that you may have lost. And I just want to acknowledge, because the holidays are a really difficult time for many, many, many families, where the loss, the grief we've had all year to deal. And now we're here, and now we're supposed to celebrate, and this person's no longer here. So please acknowledge those feelings if your child is not acting the way you're expecting, and keep your expectations low. Because one thing we can get trapped up in is having high expectations, and then we're met with disappointment as parents, you know. So keeping it low and just try to be calm. So staying cool under stress can be a challenge. Getting enough rest as the parent, as the child, exercise, they all did an amazing job tonight, but taking maybe some time to exercise and like let them get some sensory input, making healthy food choices. You know, the holidays, yeah, who doesn't love cookies and sugar and sugar and sugar and carbs? But you know what? That really dysregulates our children. So if you can have some healthy options and maybe make some carrot reindeers or something that they can have an alternative choice, you will be grateful later on when you're trying to put your child to bed. A massage, you know, a massage goes a long way, moms, dads. I'm not just saying for you, but also for your child. If they're feeling very dysregulated at the end of the night, get those little toes out and start rubbing their feet. Rub the bottoms of their soles, play little piggies, you know, reading a book to help yourself, parents, to escape, but also to your child. Watch a holiday movie, you know, like it's really important to incorporate tradition, and whatever your family celebrates, make it special. Make it special no matter what challenges your child may have, because every child, typical, neurotypical, atypical, whatever you want to call it, they're all special. Every single one of them. So teach them how to bake, even if that's all they can do is like pour some ingredients and it's water. You know, let them mix water while you're doing the real cookies. You know, let them feel like they're a part of. If it's stressful at night, take a hot bath, light some candles, put some music on, moms and dads, and just relax in the tub. Let the stress get to that Zen place and relax. And then here's a really good one. Come to therapy with me. I just started here and I would love to work with you and your family. Schedule self-care in your schedule. Why is this important? Because we don't take enough good care of ourselves. And it's really important to take care of you, moms and dads, because if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. And as a mom of 3 children and children with special needs, I can't vouch enough that it's so important to take care of yourself first. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to be no good to little Johnny. You know what I'm saying? So 10 tips of preparing for emotional regulation. Prepare, prepare, prepare. It started with Becca. She talked all about preparing. And you know what? She was so on point with that. Advocate for your child. We talked about this too. This is like the recap. Advocating for your child, because maybe you do have a nonverbal child who can't say, I don't like when people hug me, but you know your child doesn't like to be hugged or touched. Speak up, step in front of Aunt Sally and say, you know what, Aunt Sally, he doesn't like to be touched. Could you just give him a fist pump instead? Practice how to open gifts. The ladies talked about that, like practicing, use the shower, shampoo, the hair bottle, whatever, those little things, you know, just so they can even practice some of the sensory input. They might not like the sound of the ripping the paper. And if that's an issue, maybe you tell Aunt Joan to put things in bags ahead of time, because that could irritate them so much. And then you have a meltdown, and then we got to go back to our tips of how to calm your kid down. Keep the routine as simple as possible. You know they're going to get up. You know they're going to be excited and want to open every gift, whether it's Hanukkah or Christmas, and want to just go wild. So keep it. This is what we're going to do. You can even have a schedule. Hey, we're going to get up, have breakfast, do this, do this, do this, and then go to grandma's house. Whatever it is, keep it simple and let them know ahead of time. Maintain, as I said before, reasonable expectations, because you know what happens when we have big expectations? As parents, we get resentful because Billy didn't act the way we thought he should. Well, you know what? We need to put the kibosh on how we think they ought to behave, because we know our child and they're going to act up. It's overwhelming and stimulating, and chances are we might have a harder time than they do. That's the reality. And plan for a safe, calm space. I love how they talked about taking a break, giving them some place to go, a calm down corner, something with a book, maybe some hot chocolate, something to just where they can chill out, regulate, and just relax. Make traveling plans less painful. Now, if you're flying for the holidays and you have to go, 2 different airplanes, Mom, you better pack a lot of snacks, because you know our kids love to eat. You better pack some fidgets. You better pack those coloring books and some headphones, because those traveling tips could be really overwhelming if they have to go. Even a long car ride, even if it's a 2-hour ride, that can be so over or understimulating, where by the time they get there, they need to fight with someone and just walk in and hit the wall. You know what I'm saying? I know you do. Prepare to deal with repetitive behaviors in regards to gifts and disappointments. Now, when we get the more verbal children and they're a little older, they might go, this isn't the game I wanted. I wanted that one, or whatever. And then you see this person's face like, oh gosh, I feel so bad. Let them know ahead of time to just say thank you and what those quiet expectations are, so you're not also embarrassed, because I know it can be embarrassing. I have one who likes to verbally let people know when things are not the right way. So basically, guys, the bottom line is it's progress, not perfection, and enjoy yourself and have fun. That's all I have. Thank you for letting me be of service. And here comes Miss Randy.
All right, I'm going to hold up a QR code here. This is our little handout that we're giving to everyone. This is just so that you can access these slides after today. I want to thank everyone who came and presented: Becca, Jenna, Gabby, Jill, Michelle. It was so helpful. And yeah, it was wonderful. So thank you all for joining us. We are going to post this to our YouTube. I'm going to hold this again. Sorry. It was probably very small. Becca came over to help me. And yeah, Our next parent series is going to be January 11th. We're going to be putting the information out about that. It's going to be with Miss Sarah, our BCBA, who's wonderful. She's going to talk about dysregulation versus, or positive reinforcement. I'm going to mess it up. Positive reinforcement and dysregulation, something along those lines. But I know it is January 11th. We will make sure that we put that flyer out on social media nice and early. If we have enough people RSVP ahead of time, we can offer some childcare so that if you want to bring your children, we can kind of have them in a room. And depending on the people, hey, maybe we add some wine, right? Some parents need wine. So we can make this a fun event and a time for everyone to kind of socialize before and after the presentations. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next month. Let's see, how do I stop the recording? I don't know how to stop it.